So that prepayment behavior is correlated both with how the economy is doing and interest rates, and probably with the age makeup of the population as well. What happens when, somebody old with a mortgage who dies? Well, those guys are going to actually uh, leave it to their kids. Those kids are going to sell it and divide it between them. So that mortgage is going to be paid either way. A lot of mortgages have life insurance component anyway. So if you die early, life insurance pay for the mortgage, and the house is left free and clear to the people. So age makeup of the population. So if typically these mortgages, these mortgage-backed securities, especially IOPO tranches, the pools are from uniform locations. So it could be all Kentucky, all Southern California, all Florida. Prepayment behavior in Florida is very different than prepayment behavior in, I don't know, Boston. Why a lot of those mortgages in Florida are by older people. So they're more likely to be prepaid. But you have the setup. Normally, you actually make forecasts of what prepayment behavior is going to be over the 30-year life. But I don't think, as kind of first pass, you lose too much by assuming it's a constant number. If I forecast prepayment percentages and take the average of them, average of the forecasted numbers, the value is going to be pretty close. It's not going to be exact, but if you're trading these things for a living, it's a lot easier to forecast prepayments up to a year or so. But anybody who's going to tell me that they could forecast prepayment behavior 29 years from now is either the Messiah or, they're lying. But these are very useful securities. People can decide to make bets on them. For example, if you buy the IO, you're betting on effectively two things: that interest rates are not going to come down, right? And economy is not going to be that lively. Because as the economy is more lively, prepayment is going to increase. As interest rates come down, prepayments will increase. So buying IO is essentially bearish behavior on interest rates. We think of bearish for interest rates going up. As interest rates go up, prepayment probabilities go down. If you're buying PO, you're betting that interest rates are going to come down and economy is going to be lively. So those are the kinds of bets you're making. And they could also serve as hedging instruments. Sometimes firms have risk due to their cash flow that cannot be directly hedged using some sort of futures contract. Example, you're Amazon. Do you make more money during recessions or during booms? It's a rhetorical question. Obviously, you make more money when the economy is booming because people have a lot more disposable income. They spend it. Since Amazon has quite a bit of that market, they make more money. So your cash flow is exposed to business cycle. But there is no derivative instrument that says, okay, if the economy goes up by 3%, you make this much money, like the LIBOR rate. They're based on financial underlyings. So it can be done. But now I have a financial instrument here that is linked, that is affected by the behavior of the economy. Well, if I know that if the economy grows an extra 0.5% more, what's going to happen to the prepayment behavior? Well, using historical data, we can actually come up with some reliable methods to forecast it. So it goes from 150 or 0.25 to 1%. For example, if tomorrow prepayment probability doubled, PEO is going to go from 51 to 60. That's a big number, okay? So that's a 20% gain. So I'm going to look at the correlation of my cash flow with the correlation of the prepayment behavior. And this is going to serve as a hedge, because in the bad times, interest rates are going to go down, right? And prepayment is going to go up. So I want to buy the PO. So buying the PO is going to be a kind of a cash flow hedge for my macroeconomic risk, business risk. So this is not just for the speculators, right? Just because it's a structured product doesn't mean it's useful only for speculators. You can actually manage risk. I can actually use something like this to manage macroeconomic risk for a bank, because things happen to loan activity of the banks because of macro. In bad times, you don't extend that many loans. Part of it is you don't want to extend that many loans. Another part is people are not borrowing. You make a certain margin from each loan, so you're not making that much money anymore. Well, here's a tool that's going to allow you to manage that risk. Done. I mean, it's not that simple, but the generic way of doing it is that simple. Normally, the way you actually value these things is through partial differential equations, because you have to think about what's the interest rate behavior in the future. You have to model the forward curve. All that sorts of stuff comes in, but that's PhD level. But as a first approximation, this is good enough. But when you're actually trading these, you want to do the PhD level stuff. Right? Useful. So financial engineering is not just for speculators. We basically took a cash flow, a pool of cash flow. We divided into two different pools, and from that we got a hedging instrument. Isn't that beautiful? But a lot of people, I mean, this is one of the simplest tranche structures. A lot of people don't have any idea how these things are valued, or they do it based on assumptions where they assume that, for example, prepayment behavior has a normal distribution. What if it has fat tails? That makes a big difference. Fat tails means bad shite happens a lot more frequently than you think it would be. It's a so-called black swan event. 2008 was a black swan event. COVID was a black swan event. I mean, think of yourself as a holder of IO and COVID came. You're dead. I mean, before, let's look at the mortgage rates before COVID lockdowns. It wasn't that high, but it was 383. Suddenly it's 280s. That 1% makes a lot of difference in payments. You know, 388, whoops, 470, 288, 415. Over 30 years, it makes a difference uh, for the purposes of prepayment, and you go ahead and do it. Okay? And suddenly the prepayments, if they went from 0.25% a month to 1%, IO was 52. I'm sorry. IO was 22. Now it's 13. You lost more than 40% of your investment. But, if you had, or if you were owner of the PO, 52, oh, the 288, 59, 60. I guess it didn't matter that much, but anyway, you can use these to hedge your exposure. Let's stop here for today. Think of another topic that you guys want me to talk about next week. If you don't come up with something, I'll figure something to talk about. There is no limit to. If you guys don't come up with something, I'll talk about credit default swaps. How about that?